The morning of February 6, 2008, Barbra Sonnen-Hernandez collapsed after taking a shower.
I couldn't move. I looked at my legs. I was trying to wake them up, was hitting them. Nothing. I couldn't even feel that.
At the hospital, tests showed Barbara had Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. It's a rare neurological disorder where the immune system attacks the nervous system. Neurologist Ken Ellington explains.
You can think of a nerve as sort of a copper wire with rubber insulation around it, and in this disease, in the body it sort of attacks the insulation and strips it off, and so the signal doesn't get through to the muscles very well, and that makes you appear weak.
They told Barbara it could also result in paralysis.
You think paralyzed, you're not going to walk anymore. The first thing I was asking is, am I going to walk again?
As with most cases of GBS, doctors expected the symptoms to pass within a few months. Barbara, along with her husband Carlos and their family, began to pray.
I had to communicate with God and just say, help me here how to approach this, how to take things in stride, because it was going to be a long trip. I could sense it.
He was right. Barbara's condition declined rapidly. Within 2 weeks, she was paralyzed, unconscious, and on life support. She was moved to Seton Medical Center in Austin, Texas. The hospital staff worked around the clock to keep her alive. Carlos stayed at her bedside.
The Lord gave me so much strength that I was so focused on what I needed to be doing.
Doctors were very concerned. They had seen cases of GBS before, but nothing like this.
So she had a very, very severe form of it, and that's only been described in the medical literature 6 or 7 times.
She had a full-on collapse. The other one was partially collapsed. She developed some blood clots too as well. Her blood pressure was so erratic, they would try to level it off, it would bottom out, and then it would just go sky high.
Meanwhile, Barbara was living her own nightmare. According to Dr. Ellington, she was in a dreamlike state, which means she could feel pain.
This was severity, like people were stabbing, like I had stabs, burn, like my skin was on fire.
Still, Carlos believed God would answer their prayers.
There was just so much against her. It started developing within those few months. We, as family, started praying to God to help us.
4 months passed. Barbara said she couldn't bear the pain any longer.
I was tired now. I said, if this is the way it is before you die, then Lord, take me. And I had my conversation with the Lord at that time. I said, take care of my husband, give him a good wife when I'm gone so he's not alone. Take care of my children. And as I told him that, and I felt such a peace, such a beautiful, beautiful peace. I heard a voice very clear. It was like a song. Like somebody sang it so beautiful, and it was a man's voice. And I believe it was the Lord. And he told me, it's not your time. And there was a click in my ears, and my hearing went on. My sight, I believe, didn't return till a week or 2 later.
After such a long time, Barbara couldn't wait to talk to her family and the hospital staff.
Oh yes, a beautiful, beautiful day. Beautiful day. All the nurses that I had came in the room. Everyone was surrounding me.
She just got warmed up and took off. And it was Barbara all back again. It was just a great, great gift we got back.
Barbara started the long process of recovery. Considering the severity of her case, doctors weren't sure how well she would do.
That led to me trusting the Lord, putting all my faith in him. I started looking back at the whole memory of it and saying, you got me through all of that. Nothing is impossible with you, Lord. Nothing's impossible. You'll get me out of this too.
Barbra returned home determined to walk. After months of therapy and prayer, she did.
God's there to hand you the many gifts that he has for you if you ask. You rely on him. He's there.
Every morning when I wake up, of course, I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be alive, that I'm here. There isn't a day that I am not thankful to the Lord. I am truly thankful that I can get a fork in my hand and bring food to my mouth. The little things like that I couldn't do, that we take so much for granted. I'm so grateful and so thankful to be alive.
And here I am today. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy and Hayden. She stepped out, and the Neuropathy Alliance of Texas for having me speak to you today. And what a great time to speak of thankfulness. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing that moment to everybody, because as you can see, I am very thankful.
Speaking into the microphone.
The journey, this one?
Okay.
Oh, he had. Are you hearing me? Okay. The journey that brought me to where I am today has been quite a journey. I was a mother of two. My daughters, are old and older now. One of them, the youngest one, is married and lives out of state. So I only have two daughters with my husband. And I had a job. I had 3 jobs and a business. Oh, nothing could stop Barbra. It was go, 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 superwoman. Sometimes our friends say, well, that's probably why you got sick, because you were going. But I was always one to be active and working, helping my husband, supporting, our family. And on that February 6, 2008 is a date that I just always remember in my life, just getting up that one morning, getting out of the shower, getting ready to go to work, and collapsing to the floor. Just like that. I had gotten Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a virus that attacks your immune system, causing temporary paralysis. So I was paralyzed, as you see in the video, from head to toe. I was 1 out of 7 in the world with the most severe case. We had a researcher from the Mayo Clinic working with my neurologist here in Austin, as he was communicating with him, telling him, you've got to see this lady. This is a full-blown GBS I've never worked with before, Sometimes there's variants off the GBS that, cause that, but mine was full-blown. And 3 out of the 7 had died. So I was like, oh, Lord, what plans do you have for me that I'm a rarity here? I don't want a part of this. I kept fighting with God, to tell him, I'm not the one, you can't be picking me. But he knows every one of us. He knows the plans he has for each one of us. And going through my journey with it was a journey. I was in a coma for 4 months, in ICU 6 months. During my coma 4 months, it wasn't an induced coma. I gradually fell into a coma. My pain management doctor at the time was checking the medication because when I awoke, I had so much to tell, what I had seen during my coma. God had gifted me to see 30 dreams and visions during my coma, while my family on the outside is trying to speak for me to make sure the right doctors are coming in, to make sure the right medication is administered, and working around the clock 24/7 with me there. But as my spirit inside me, my body, got out of my body several times to see what's going on, That was the journey that I was in at that time. So with that said, checking the pain management doctor when I was writing my book called Why Didn't I Die? About this experience, I checked with the pain management doctor to find out, when I had these dreams and visions, I want to make sure I didn't have a lot of medication. I was heavily, sedated. Some of my family members were saying, oh, you were hallucinating, but as she checked it, she said, you weren't even on enough medication. You weren't. You were just fallen into your coma state. And we were just giving you pain medication, but I was monitoring it not very high. So, with that, hearing that, I knew that something was occurring here. Something was giving. After I got out of the hospital ready for rehab, it was a journey like you could see in the video, almost about a year and a half of physical therapy. I've still remained with a foot drop on my right foot. Sometimes when it gets, when I'm not feeling those days there, I do have a cane, that I'll use occasionally. When I left the hospital, as I entered walking, I wanted to leave after a year in the hospital. I wanted to leave walking as well. But when they had to arrange to order my wheelchair, everything I needed, I was like, no, not me. I'm going to walk out of here. But it didn't happen. Depression is an illness itself. It's so hard. Depression is so hard. I went through so many emotions I never even knew there was in this entire world. And depression was one of them. How could this have happened to me? All I lived with were the whys. Why me? Why God, why? What did I do, Looking back at my life, gee, I shouldn't have stolen that candy off the bowl. Maybe I got punished for this, and you go back thinking, you really go back thinking, maybe I shouldn't have shouted at my kids when they were little, or gotten after them, or my husband, yelling at them for not cleaning the bathroom this time, So, I went back to think that maybe this was a punishment, but it's not, it's not. It's our bodies. It's life. We all have been suffering here, some method, some way in this room. We've had a loved one who has suffered, with pain, anxiety, stress, depression. It's a way of our life, but I believe through my whole journey that I went through that it was my strength. It made me a stronger person. It made me help in ways that I never thought I would help people today. I'm now a part of the Seton Family of Hospitals Patient Family Advisory Council. Since this was 8 years ago, we've come a long ways, baby. Now patients have a voice. Now they matter. Before it was always doctors taking over. If you were lucky to get the right doctor, great. If you weren't, well, you'll be ready for 10 feet in the ground, But I was very blessed to have a doctor. When my husband said, are we ready to pull the plugs here? Nothing is happening for several months now. And when he did brainwave scans, he said, she's barely hanging on. Let's just see. If it had been someone else, I wouldn't be here today talking with you. And so I'm so blessed that doctor, and he happened to be very spiritual himself. And he hung in there with my family, And that's a part of the Patient Family Advisory Council today with Seton. I'm also on Ascension Health, which is over Seton Hospitals, their pain management committee. And again, with Seton, their pain management. Aside from doing speaking engagements, and since GBS was a rare disease, I've done a couple of rallies at the state capitol for Rare Disease Day in February. And I've brought that recognition, that awareness to our state reps, our legislators about rare diseases, the health issues we have today. So from working, playing 3 jobs, you know, having a little shop, to what I'm doing today, it is a miracle. It is. And each of you has a gift in you. You probably have used it now, or are using it, or maybe you're not aware of it, but every one of you has a gift in you to share your story, to help others with what you're going through as well. And I don't ever want you to give up on the hope that you have. Sure, waking up, besides my foot drop, I have intestinal damage from here to there. And speaking about food, I wrote a book too called The Jesus Diet, Taking the Weight Off Your Soul. Because I believe with food is the nourishment of the soul. And the soul is from the spirit. And I believe that when you have that strength, you know, that God-given strength that we're all born with, that it really helps you in eating better, in eating right, and eating the right amounts that your body should take in, managing it. So I want to just, God bless each and every one of you, you know, for being here and hearing me and letting me share my story. And I just want to continue giving you hope that it is there, no matter what mornings we wake up with, tired, you know, stressed out, depressed, and in pain. You know, pain is a part of that strength process. If you can get through it, whether it's through taking your medication, through exercising, through meditating, through prayer, through your Bible studies, you know, your activities with your friends, you will get through it. It's not going to conquer you. It will not conquer you, and you will refuse to have it conquer you or your loved ones. You can get through it. Is there any questions?
How's your diet changed now?
Oh my gosh, I've lost over 60 pounds from the illness because I was just, you know, intubated with liquids. And it's changed because I have this block. I can only eat that much. You know, it's like, I call it a block because my stomach, it just stops me. And it's like I look at the food, I'm going, I just want one more piece of French fry or something there. It looks so good, but I can't anymore. But my nurses used to always tell me we should all eat that way, though. We should limit ourselves, you know. It is a joy food in what you want to eat, but limit yourself the quantities of it. And I do that, you know. My digestive system and my colon have been severely damaged from the illness that it is, you know, I have chronic constipation. So that does put a barrier in my lifestyle when me and my husband are going to go out somewhere, take a vacation, but I don't let it get me down. I stay focused and I say, okay, I'm alive. I look at that first. I'm alive. We're going on a trip. I'm finally with my husband, you know, and I go past that and just look at my schedule. Okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do. This is what and just go with the flow and do it, you know. And remember that saying, go with the flow. I kept doing that when I was in the hospital. I kept fighting the nurses off of me. I kept fighting everyone, you know. It was my journey I was going through. It wasn't their fault. They were just doing their job. But I always kept telling myself, you know what, I'm so darn tired. I'm not getting anywhere fighting them. So I let it go, and I just said, I'm going to go with the flow. And as soon as I just let that go and let them do their job, things got accomplished. It just went faster and faster, and the healing process I could see in front of me was taking place. You know, we tend to control our lives, you know. We tend to, you know, I know a little bit more than you do, you know. I know it, you know, I've been there, I know that. We tend to control that, but sometimes we need to just let that go, you know. Don't let that energy take over you and waste it, you know. You should let it go and hear, Hear what that other person has to say, because I noticed, and working with pain management, the committees, I've noticed that a lot of in the hospitals when we get together to talk, I noticed that a lot of the nurses and doctors, they always speak about tensing up. It triggers that pain. That stress, it triggers that pain. You know, even anxiety, it triggers that pain. And if we just learn to relax more and say, you know what, this is what I've got, this is about as much as I can do, that's it. You know, I'm not going to worry about it anymore. You know, I'm alive, I'm walking, I'm here. You know, I've got my friends, I've got activities, and I'm going to enjoy life and not let this pain conquer me. So, anything else? Yes.
You mentioned a viral component of GBS. Is that something that you can contract from the environment, or is it something you're born with?
Well, research, thank you. Research is still being done with Guillain-Barré syndrome. You know, it was discovered in the 1800s by Guillain-Barré scientists and physiologists, physics, that invented this, that they found with a couple of people back in the Civil War. I think sometimes it's airborne, but in visiting other patients with GBS today, nurses will call me to go visit someone, you know, to lend support to the family and so forth. A lot of times it's intestinal, like a bacterial infection, you know, gastroenteritis, you know, some of those is what, or somebody who just had a cold and it just kind of stayed in them and traveled in there. It's not hereditary and it's not contagious. It's just a virus that hits people. These past couple of years, I don't take the flu shot because we're not permitted as GBS patients to take the flu shots. Some children at Dell's Children's Hospital that I visited, they had gotten the GBS off the mist flu shot that they're given at the schools. So there are a few factors with that, so we don't take it. The other thing is the ones that did get it intestinal, you know, started off with that, diarrhea, you know, like a stomach virus, and it just inhabits, stays in there. I came out recently on KView News, KI News, because I found something, there was something still in the back of my mind saying, how did I get this? When my mother was visiting me in the hospital, you know, crying all over me, praying, you know, just, it was so hard for my family, so hard to see me in the condition that I was. But my mother always, you know, confronted my husband, telling him, how did she get this? None of us have this. We never had any of this in the background. So what is this that she got? You know, get medicine, get it out of her. It's like a monster inside my daughter, you know? And yes, I did feel like sometimes I had a monster in me. Well, this was an interesting research that I did. My father was a World War II veteran. He's deceased now. He fought he was in the Army Air Corps, which was the Air Force, you know, and he fought in the Italian invasion. He was out there in North Africa, and he had gotten malaria. Well, as I did research, and I did research with another researcher at Boston Hospital to get some information. We were emailing each other back and forth, and he found this research very interesting, what we were trying to find out. I told him about my whole story, then I told him about my dad, that, you know, is there some kind of connection? It turns out that the incubation period of his malaria, even though he got treated for it in the service there, had to go back to his tour, you know, out, it can hibernate in him for many years. And he feels it might have went into you, because my brothers and sisters did not get this. I did. I'm the youngest out of 4. He said when it came into you, it went through his bloodstream into my mother. And then my mother conceived, I was conceived, and when I was born, I carried it hibernated in me for several years. That it happened to be on February 6, 2008, it broke out of its shell. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this possible? it's a possibility. He doesn't know yet. You know, we'd have to do blood work on me and get more, but the theory is there, you know, because of the hibernation period and what malaria is a mosquito. Now, the reason why Kay did this story, because we had the Zika virus going on. And they were saying that people were getting GBS off the Zika virus, which is mosquito-borne. So that's where that brought me that idea to say, I need to look into this because I know my dad had malaria bitten by mosquitoes. So, you know, could that have been, you know, it gave me a sense of relief. You know, we all always want our answers answered because it does give us a sense of relief. Say, now I know where I got it. You know, my grandmother had it, my dad had it, you know, and we're all like, okay, so I've got it, and it's easy to accept. But when it's a mystery, when we don't have the answers, it's hard. It really is, because you're still fighting it, saying, why me? What did I do? You know, how did I get this? You know, so I could tell others for preventative medicine here, you know. Yes.
I have two questions.
Yes.
One for me. When you were in a coma, did you ever recall dreaming? Were they good dreams? Were they bad dreams?
Ooh.
And the other question, you talked about depression being an illness. What did you do to pull yourself out of those times when you were down?
Let me talk about the depression first, you know. Yeah, like I said, that was a new word added to my life, depression, you know. I never even had time in my busy life to discover what depression was. I was always bubbly, happy, go, 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 you know, just getting things accomplished. And with depression, since I was laying down in bed, and one last miracle, laying in bed for a year, I didn't have a single bed sore on my body. As I laid in the bed, it was tiles like this. I don't like tile ceilings. And all I did was count all the tiles every day. And I said, I don't know how many Hail Marys, Our Fathers, every day, every day. I figured nobody can hear me talk. Nobody knows what I'm feeling, but only my Maker. And that was the only one I confronted to get through it. And I know that after coming out of my coma, which I experienced, I knew I had a story to tell, and that was my drive. I said, I've got to write a book about what I saw, what happened to me, and that was my drive to say, I got to get well so I can get out of here. And that's what always kept me going, you know. The depression would hit when they had to come in to change me like a baby, you know, to clean me, to turn me over, to switch with another bed that moves you so you don't get, you know, fluid in your lungs, to bathe me, to wash my hair. Those were things I was independent of doing, and I didn't want anybody else to do that. And it got me down. I said, oh my God. I'd look at my husband saying, is this our life now? You know, how long are you gonna last with me looking at me like this, you know? Sure, depression, you know, hit me like that. But again, I just shrugged it away and I said, no. I got angry. I think the anger made me overcome depression because it's like, you're not going to defeat me. I'm going to get through this. And I had to, like brainwashing myself, I'm going to get through the chanting, you know. I'm beating you, I'm going to get through this, you know. And getting to know the nurses as my family. I love my nurses. They were my family, the doctors, they all got involved with my family, started knowing us, and that's where I built that relationship to get my mind off of that depression and say, I have a life now. These are friends, they're trying to make friends with me. And as far as my coma, yes, I had over 30 dreams and visions, things happening today in the world, things that had happened. I saw tsunamis. I saw earthquakes that I was in. In all my dreams and visions, I'm paralyzed, I'm helpless. The nurses that would come into my room were nurses from the 1800s, the 1920s, the 1960s. Remember, with the caps and the little white outfit and the tights and the shoes. When I'd see a modern day nurse in my room, here comes one from the past coming in, and I'd be like, don't you see each other? No, they never did. And I learned to know that they were angels still doing their work that they're doing, and that they were coming in my room and they'd always place their hand on me to say, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." And I loved it when I saw them. I never got scared because I knew they were my angels. And then I saw death in Hades come at me. They brought me to a hole on the ground, which is the pit. The Bible says the pit. And they wanted me to see, which I saw skeletons down there. And I went down to the pit. And I laid on this table that was like a cutting saw. And I saw people all cut up, tortured, but they weren't screaming. They were just kind of still walking, doing their jobs. They were all deformed. It was the most horrible sight I had ever seen. I was screaming and screaming, and as the saw was going through me, I never got cut up. And a message came to me as I journeyed through that, and I believe God was trying to give me a message to say, we live in an illusional world. Is what it is. We live in a world of illusions. You know what that means? It means that the people today, these reality shows, everybody who wants plastic surgery, everybody, it's all an illusion. That it's us inside, the spirit, that is the human being part. It's how you make your life. That's the beauty of it with every one of us. And I knew that too. He was guiding me to be doing something when I got out. And so I had journeyed. I got out of my body. I saw myself floating out of my body. I saw a priest on my hospital bed over me, and I saw my husband and 2 cousins that had always been coming to see me every day because they worked close by. And I saw them there, and as I was in front of my bed, I was trying to see who's that they're praying over, and I kept calling my husband, and my cousin said, "Hey, look at me, look, I'm walking, look at me, I'm up, I'm just fine, nothing's wrong with me. Let's go, let's get out of here." But they weren't hearing me, and as soon as the priest got away, I saw my body. And as I made that connection, I was drawn like a magnet back into it, inside. And then another time I floated, out of the hospital area to see other patients ill and sick and the care they were getting, and many, many more. But that's in my book, Why Didn't I Die? It's on Amazon, if you'd like to get that. But it's been a journey. I never thought that I would be speaking to people today to express my journey and my hope for all of you, that it's real, it's real where we live today, what we do, and it's a matter of what we do on this earth is what builds our spirit, and that's what we take with us to the kingdom of heaven, So make every moment in your life count, with pain, without pain, with depression, without depression, make every moment of the day count in what you do in your life, because it's very much appreciated. We need more people like that in this world. Yes?
Would you state the kind of neuropathy that you were diagnosed with?
Well, it's Guillain-Barré syndrome is the disease that I had, and it attacks my nervous system. So if I have partial paralyzation on some of my toes that didn't come back. If I hit something real hard, I will scream from here to the moon. It's very sensitive to the touch, and that's what I have to. Summertime is real hard for me because I don't sweat anymore. That was taken away from me. So my body overheats, and I have to be in cool places. Winter is also just as scary, because if I were to get frostbite, I don't know it until it finally hits me later. So those are the situations that I get into. But it's a part of my life now. I don't I try not to dwell in it anymore, because if I do, then I'm giving up everything, my accomplishments, to focus on that, you know? It's like, I accept it. I accept it. This is my life. This is what I have to deal with, but I have to go on. You know, I'm not going to let it defeat me. Yes.
Did you have any balance issues?
Yes, I still have balance issues today, yes.
How does it affect you?
Well, if I, sometimes when I'm walking and I'll go off like this, walking off to the side, and you know, I have to hold on to something. Since my gait area, because of the intestinal damage, is very weak here, this is what we need, I can no longer squat on the floor or get on the floor. I have to do it the way the physical therapist showed me, sitting on a couch, getting myself, my upper part is very strong, thank God, and I have to scoot myself down on the floor and yay, I'm finally sitting on the floor. Like a little kid enjoying it, you know, with my legs out, looking at TV, but when I get up, I gotta turn my whole body on my fours, you know, grab the couch like that and pull myself up, because this is completely weak here, you know. And going upstairs, holding onto a rail, you know, we have a little porch in the front where if I'm carrying something, I got to put it on this hand, so I free this one to help me get up the stairs. The same thing going down, you know, slower. Since I was so fast-paced, my world now is slower. But I tell you what, I love it because it's like stopping and smelling the roses. I miss so much when I was in a rush. And now today, I see so much. And I really enjoy it, you know.
What do you give your talks to mostly?
Well, I've done them to some churches, and I've done them to at the hospitals, some of the nursing schools. They want to know about GBS, you know, my condition.
Your story has great spiritual value.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And of course, the 700 Club came to, you know, do this for us, came by to film us. So, oh yeah, it sure does. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.